Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Inexpressive Kashiwada and Expressive Oota, Season 1, Episode 5. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Like always, I'll include time codes so you can jump around to hear my thoughts about the different segments of the episode. But starting with the first segment, got a great segment where we get a perspective with Sata. We kind of learn a little bit more about him. That it's so interesting because the whole focus is obviously on Oota and Kashiwada, but he also kind of has an issue too where it's like, we've seen him be smiling and stuff, but he kind of has dead eyes where just like he seems like he doesn't really express himself the same. It's probably a little different from like Kashiwada where it's like she has the feeling she does, she just can't express it. Sata seems to like his runs a little deeper where it's just like probably it's hard to express his feelings at all. There's a lot of stuff he doesn't understand because he's like, right, I don't have the same interest. So like their buddy Tadokoro is talking about all these different things he's into, and none of it really like registers to Sata. Like it's almost like he has to feign and play along with people and just kind of like nod and agree. They had girls, confess to him, but he's like, we've never talked before. So like for him, it's like there's no like real enjoyment he gets out of anything except for the Oota and Kashiwada. So it's interesting because he's on like a completely different end of the spectrum when it comes to the Tabuchi of it all, where she's completely and utterly obsessed with Kashiwada, whereas Sata, it's like, no, I enjoy your dynamic, a girl who like doesn't express anything and the guy who his face reveals everything, and they're like back and forth, and they're kind of, and I think I talked about it previously, like Sata's always down for like, yo, I'm here for the mess. I enjoy the shenanigan feel thing that happens as a byproduct of you too. And he's observed their behavior. It's such a routine thing at this point in time. But then all of a sudden there's a massive change when Kashiwada starts avoiding Oota at every angle. And even he's like, well, what's the sudden change? It's not like this happened progressively. It just, one day it just happened out of nowhere. So he goes to Kashiwada and asks her, like, why has she been avoiding Oota? Like, what's going on? And she reveals that she cut her own bangs and she was so nervous. She does not like how they turned out, even though the amount of change is so insignificant that it's such a minute change that it doesn't register. It definitely wouldn't register to Oota, but to anyone, because even Sada's like, I actually don't see the difference either. But she didn't want Oota to see her like that. Because Sata, figured like, well, he's already got it in his head like, well, he already thinks that, and him and Tadokoro kind of joked about the whole like her liking Oota, but it's the whole thing of, because it's hard to register like what she's feeling, you never realize that. Side note, I love that we got that. I just assumed Kashiwada would be extremely smart, but I love the reveal of like, well, I mean, she's smarter than Oota, but like it's not like she's like, Tabuchi is definitely like probably the smarter student there. It's funny because I was watching Yano-kun's Ordinary Days, and Kyoko isn't like the smartest student in the class, even though she's a class representative. Tabuchi is a class representative and seems like she might be the smartest person in the class. So that's kind of, once again, assumptions I've made about that character archetype. But either way, he got a 0 and she got a 40. And I love that he's like, oh my God, stop looking like you're so proud of yourself for getting a higher grade than me. But it's like, no, she was actually depressed because she was like, I did want to do better, but that doesn't register. And so his assumption is like, well, the feelings are probably mutual because he sees the way, and he probably thinks at the bare minimum Oota likes her, but he's not quite sure if it's a two-way street, because Oda's pretty clear the way he acts and how he blushes and gets embarrassed, like, you definitely like her, but he just not quite sure, because I think for him it's like it's hard for him to register and really read emotions, I think, sometimes, because he probably has a hard time like understanding his own. So I think it becomes a situation because it's hard to read on people, but Oda's so expressive and so easy to read, it's clear, but Kashiwada is such an enigma, it's hard to say. But while Sata and Kashiwada were like he was like, oh no, you're okay, it's perfectly fine, no one's going to really know this difference, Oda finds them together, and then Sata grabs him and is like, hey, don't misunderstand this situation. Kashiwada, you probably want to explain, because this goes beyond your bangs now. This is going to turn into a whole issue. But then Oda's like, wait, that's what this all about? You got embarrassed because of your... That's crazy. That's stupid. Why'd you get so caught up in it? He's like, bangs aren't that big of a deal. If you want, I can cut them. And they're like, ooh, that's probably not a good idea. And Kashiwada goes ahead. She's like, go ahead. I think for her, it's like, it's already bad, but it's also like, well, it's a guy that you like, so you're willing to just like let him do whatever he wants. And he does, and he makes it a mess. And he tries to fix it by getting this one strand of hair, swirling it, and like, you know, almost like a little bit of a Clark Kent, but facing down, pointing down, and then like putting a flower in her hair, and it didn't work. In fact, Kashiwada gets mad. This is the first time we've ever seen or registered her as mad. She's laughed, she's excited, she's been sad, she's been nonchalant, but this is the first time I think we've ever come across her being furious and just upset by the whole situation. And then Sada's only takeaway is, nah, there's no way she likes that idiot, especially after that. But it's like, she's probably just as frustrated with herself as she is Oda, because like he went and kept cutting because, ooh, too short, ooh, that's too short now, I'm trying to fix it. So she's probably regretting a lot of, I shouldn't have let my feelings get in the way. I should have never let him cut my hair. Two, I had such an issue with it before. I should have just left it alone. It would have been perfectly fine because no one noticed it. And because I was so insecure about it, I let Oda do this. And now it's dealing with the ramifications of it. And now she has to deal with that. So obviously it's probably going to take a while for her hair to grow back. I doubt the next section, it'd be interesting if we like reference this in a future episode. Well, you know, I'm breaking these down part by part. So I could definitely see like, there could be a post-credit scene that kind of references this part of the episode. It ends up like she finds a way to kind of cover her bang situation. I don't know. I'm interested to see will there be any reference to this in the future or not, or will Oda be able to make it up to her, or we're just going to breeze past this whole situation because I'm sure she would like to forget. It's moments like this where you're like, man, I'd love for Tabuchi to be around because she would definitely be upset at Oda for doing what he did, but she'd be there to obviously try and reassure Kashiwada that everything's okay, it's perfectly fine. So, and now moving on to the second part of the episode, we have it's going into Christmas, or rather winter break, and Christmas is like the next day, and it turns out there's going to be a Christmas present exchange party. Well, initially they're bringing up the whole thing of like, you know, what's Oda gonna do, because only Warada pokes fun at Oda being like, you know, because he's telling all the students not to stockpile all their homework, basically work on some every day. That way you don't have to worry about rushing to do everything at the last second, and kind of pointing out Oda being kind of like a great example of that, and he most likely would be. But they're like, oh, what's Oda gonna do? Because obviously it's gonna be a very extended period of time not seeing Kashiwada's face, and he's acting like it's no big deal. But it's like, nah, you seem a little kind of sad by the whole thing. And then she ends up inviting him to the Christmas present exchange, and he's initially like, why would I go to that? But her staring at him and being, please, like, will you come for me? And it's like, fine, immediately concedes. But now it's like, yeah, you have to show up with a limit of at least one present, and he's trying to decide what to get. And then his sister walks in with like the stinkiest can of fish food possible. And apparently the way he was talking about it seems like she does this on a regular basis. She always eats the most bizarre food. But I was like, hey, I guess you always have to have that character type of like, oh, this person who eats weird stuff. I don't know. I wonder what did that stem from, because she has a can, because she's like, oh, I'll probably eat it like another day or something like that. And so he immediately thinks, oh my God, I can use this. It's like, I get it. That's his whole bit throughout the story. But it's just like, sometimes it's like, man, you're just a menace for no reason. It's like, oh, this stinky food will definitely get a reaction out of her. But it's like, you don't care about it. He gets blinders on when it comes to like, you know, he's just on the opposite end. He's just as like obsessed with Kashiwada as Tabuchi is. You know, it might not be to that degree, and it's an opposite side of the spectrum, but it's there. Well, it might not be as much of the opposite side of the spectrum, but they both handle their essentially fascination with Kashiwada in very different ways. And But yeah, like you never bothered to think about like, because all he was focused on is how Kashiwada would react. Never thought about the fact is it's a very stinky food. To the point, your sister brought it into the house. It wasn't even open, and you could still smell it. But he thought like, nah, who cares about anyone else? As long as I get Kashiwada, that's all the victory. Like that's all the reward I need. So I don't think he went off and got his own can. He most likely stole the one his sister just happened. I'm like, isn't she going to have an issue with that? Because she claims she's going to eat it, but maybe Oota doesn't have to worry about it because maybe his sister's extremely forgetful and forget she even bought it in the first place. I don't know. But anyway, he goes to the exchange because it's at the community center, and Toto Koro is there, and he's like, well, I was bored, so I showed up here. He's like, yeah, I got, the present I brought was like some stuff I wanted to give away, and I love that. It's like, this isn't like some like yard sale or something like that, is what Oota said. Like, you can't just like throw away the stuff you don't want anymore. Like, that's not supposed to be the spirit of the situation. But both Oota and Kashiwada kind of got blindsided by the fact is that it isn't as simple of, oh, you're giving your present to someone. It's an random exchange. Basically, all the presents get put in a pile and just random people get things. Oota didn't know that, but Kashiwada was also shocked too, because for her it's like, I got this very specifically for Oota. So for one, if someone else ends up with it, it's going to be embarrassing. Two, I want Oota specifically to have it. So if anyone else has it, that's going to be upsetting. And we also have the Oniwarada situation. There's a big present he left. It's like, oh, it's supposed to be like a big end all for the party. I'm like, well, what's in the present? And then it's him. He's meant to jump out, surprise them, and it's supposed to be a gag. It's his way to, make the kids realize like, oh, I'm kind of hip and cool. And he's like, oh, this is all going to work out. I'm like, how is this going to go wrong? Because of course it's going to go wrong. So, well, the way it goes wrong is somehow Oota screws up and the can leaks. I think he said like it might have been like some of it opened a little because he dropped it or whatever. It leaked through the bag, fell, and now like the smell radiates everywhere. It's open enough to, because he was able to keep it like closed, I guess tight knit enough in the bag that it didn't come out, the smell, but now it's filled the entire center. And he's like, oh, like it must have happened because of this, and everyone's like, wait, this was your fault? So everyone completely evacuates the area, and it's just like, yeah, like I said, you're such a damn menace. Your like obsession with Kashiwada, like you kind of ruined this whole event for everybody. It's like, you're not you were a pure utter an asshole for that. That's such a dick move. Wasn't what he intended, but it's still the thing of you don't care about anyone else except getting what you want, and that's Kashiwada's like reactions. But it works out in the end because for one, he's able to dispose of the can, but it also allows Kashiwada to give him her present directly. And so it turns out it's a scarf that she really wanted him to have, and because of that, like, he has the canned food wrapped up completely tight nip in, like, some tape and stuff. So, but it's like, I probably could give it to you, but it'd be, like, such a dick thing now that I've seen that you gave me such a sweet gift like a scarf. I wonder on some level, could it be, like, in exchange for, like, is it supposed to almost be, like, for the new hairband he got her, like, a few episodes ago? I wonder, could it be any, like, correlation there? Maybe, maybe not. And then he proceeded to give her some gloves that were out of his pocket, and obviously they don't fit on her properly, but she's happy to get anything from him regardless. And so it's like, cool, let's just go clean up the place and then leave. And I even love she's pointing out, like, yeah, everyone's pretty mad about the whole party getting canceled. And he's like, yeah, you have every right to feel like a dick. And then after everything's cleaned up and stuff, we see Oniwarada standing up, kind of humming, a Christmas tune to himself. And I'm like, that is sad. All that effort you went into, and it was all for nothing. I knew it was going to go wrong, but I thought at the very least you pop out, have your big reaction. You think you're going to get a big reaction, and everyone's like, oh, that's lame, and you get hurt by it. But like, no, just no one will ever know that you were in there. And I wonder how long did it take for you, because at no point did you come out when everyone was already leaving. You're just there in the dark. So it had to be after Oota and Kashiwada already cleaned up and left, and then you finally decided, like, oh, like the moment it started getting quiet, you should have popped out. Or maybe he was like, well, it's quiet, I heard everyone leave, it's embarrassing and sad if I leave now because I don't want anyone to see me leaving this, because if they do, that's really, really sad, and it's just going to worsen my reputation. I don't know if that's what his thought process was. It's all a moot point. whatever his thinking might have been, because he's just there all alone in the dark at the end. So that's such a depressing way to end it. But also, like I said, this is all Ota's fault. So there's a good silver lining for Kashiwada, but literally everyone else's night was ruined all around because of Ota's selfishness. And now moving on to the third and final part of the episode, where we have, was it New Year's Eve? Yeah, I believe. And so Ōta spending his time playing video games. We get a somewhat proper introduction to his sister. We actually get to see we get to see her face and everything. Me stopping with, we get to see her whole, Jesus Christ, I meant to say like we get to see her whole body, but more so than anything, we see her face, because up until this point we hadn't seen it. And so she's looking through some of the cards that were sent their way, and one is from Kashiwada, and she's lording it over her brother. We've seen the 2 times she's popped up so far. She likes, one time previously she's popped up, because she didn't do as much teasing to her brother in the last part, but in the previous episode she definitely teased her brother. And it's like, ooh, who's this Kashiwada? Is it the girl you like? In fact, realizing like, oh, this must be the girl that you were talking to on Limes like a couple days ago. And he was like, whoa, how do you even know that? Because your sister's extremely nosy. It's so interesting that like this showcases how much alike him and his sister are, and that maybe that's also why they bump heads so much. I mean, he bumps heads with her, she enjoys because she loves messing with him, because like anyone in his life, she knows how easily flustered he gets, and she enjoys that. But it's also like, because her and her brother are so much alike, because they do enjoy, like, he has his particular target, but he doesn't get the satisfaction she does. He's still trying to catch that high, but his sister gets it on a regular basis with him. It's like, that's all she needs to kind of live and feel the excitement. And she's making it seem like, ooh, it's something crazy and wild. She says something specific on the card, and it's like, no, it's a very generic thing of like, cool. And she enjoyed messing with him. But it's like, yeah, his reaction was enough to show like, oh, it obviously meant a lot to you. So everything you're not able to do to Kashiwada, she's able to do to you. But to be fair, you're an easy target, so it's not like it's the most difficult thing in the world. But he's trying to pretend like, right, like Kashiwada, there's nothing there. It's not like I like her or anything, like, you idiot. And it's like, hey, since it's, New Year's Eve and everything, let's go to the shrine to kind of pray for the upcoming year. He's like, nah, I don't want to. And then when their dad comes home, she's like, hey, Dad, guess who got a car? He's like, fine. If you just leave me alone and stop messing with me and tormenting me, I'll go with you. It took me a while to realize, I think it's such a sweet continuation of last episode too, that he is wearing the scarf that Kashiwada got him. So I figured they were going to bump into each other. Wasn't expecting him to run into Sata, because I forgot to talk about it. Like, Sata wasn't at the get together at all. The exchange in the previous part. And I love Sata brings up, he's like, oh yeah, like I heard about from Tado Koro about the whole like fish can situation. And I love that his sister's almost like, which I was like, I mean, it has been a couple days in the context of the episode, and I'm like, oh, does she still not know that it's going missing? Because I brought that up in the previous part of like, oh, like there's no way he went and just got his own can. He most likely stole hers, and is she just absent-minded enough to not know it? Not unless, maybe that's also why he kept it and he didn't throw it away. He packaged it back up and he probably took it back home. That didn't even click in my head of like, yeah, he probably tried to return it. So it's perfectly fine and back, like almost like nothing happened. So she probably didn't notice that it was going. She probably has already eaten it potentially, because he doesn't make any fuss about it. Like, shh, don't bring it up. He just moves on with the conversation. So yeah, it's either she didn't even know it was missing because she hasn't bothered looking, or she has already eaten it because he put it back. Like, this latter is most likely the solution of like, she already ate it because he did put it back. That why not just like toss it away, like rather than wrapping it up just so no one had to smell it anymore, but it makes it easier just to kind of put it back, I guess. Either way, Kashiwada is there and she looks at her fortune, and it turns out, hey, it's going to be a pretty good, year or whatever. And so Ōta feeling like, I don't want her to know, because she's like, oh my god, look at that girl over there that you're staring at. like, oh, look at that blank expression. He's like, yeah, I was just paying attention to her blank expression. She's almost like, is that the girl? And it's like, nah, I don't even know who that is. He's like, I can't let her know that's Kashiwada because she's going to like hound me and use this against me. So yeah, I don't even know who that is. And his sister's like, yeah, but she's over there waving at you. He's like, I don't know. She must be waving to someone else. She dashes over because she notices he's wearing this scarf. And she's like, hey, you're wearing it. He's like, this scarf, I got it from a complete and utter stranger. I don't know what you're talking about. And it's like, oh yeah, this is a scarf I gave you and everything. And it's just like, yeah, that's not gonna work, my guy. And in that moment, you see her take such a fascination with like, oh my god, look at the way my brother's reacting, but also look at this look on Kashiwada's face. And in that moment, she's trying to like see like, oh, can I get a rise out of her? In fact, it's like, oh, do you like my brother? So let's see, because she probably is like, well, you probably don't know that I'm his sister. So she tries to use that to her advantage, and she clings onto her brother. And you can see it in her face a little, that like, she's almost staring like, I was like, is she getting a little jealous? Because it's like, I thought it wouldn't get revealed that that's his sister, and that lead to a different episode where we deal with a little bit of her jealousy. But it's like, but you know, very much like her brother, she's like, oh my god, you can't even tell your expressions. And she's like, oh my god, I want to run a whole bunch of experiments. And even Sada's like, wow, she was so obsessed and focusing on her brother, but now she completely abandoned him for Kashiwada. And it's like, oh my god, you need to come over to our house. So like I said, it's just like, it's such a true showcase of how you two are such siblings. You are so much alike despite you having issues with your sister. It's like, well, yes, because your sister's doing to you what you're doing to Kashiwada. It's like, it's almost like karma is like dishing it back out to you. I mean, maybe you could make some argument, an extra reason why he does that to Kashiwada is because he has to constantly deal with that from, I mean, everyone in general, but especially his sister. That it's like he needs to get back at someone, but he fails miserably and he just ends up being the loser. He ends up on the losing side of things regardless. But yeah, her need to like perform experiments because she's, once again, Tabuchi's fascination with Kashiwada, Ota's fascination, and now his older sister's fascination with Kashiwada. And it's like, oh, I gotta run all these experiments to find out like how I can get like a reaction out of her and stuff like that. So, and kind of drags her along. But then like the post credit ends with like, sadly she has to go back because she's like, oh, my family's here, and she dashes off. And her takeaway is, oh man, oh my god, like, you know, bro, you have to invite her over because I need to run experiments. He's like, what kind of experiments? She's like, I'm gonna have to like tickle her extensively and torture her to get information out of her about whether or not she likes you or not. And he's like, how about you don't do any of that? You know, so just like, I love that. So there definitely will be, I mean, he's been over to her house, obviously only for a little bit because of the hairband thing, but yeah, like now that his sister knows, it's like, oh, she's got all the ammunition she needs to mess with you. But also, I forgot to talk about it, like, you know, Kashiwada did find out, like, oh, that's his sister. Good, because like the way they were clinging to each, like she was clinging on to him, Kashiwada was getting a little like upset by it because it's like, and rather bothered by it. I mean, it makes sense because like other than her and the occasional being around Tabuchi, but they butt heads, so I don't think she thinks much of it. But like any random girl like touching on him like that, you kind of like, oh, is there something going on here? But it's like, oh, cool, it's his sister. Because like she's the only girl he interacts with on a consistent basis. Because mainly he hangs around, you know, Tadokoro and Sata. So of course she'd be a little jealous with someone getting all up close and personal with Oda like that when she herself has never been able to kind of go to that extreme and to that extent. So yeah, just kind of a nice, sweet and fun wrap up to the episode. I'm excited to see what other shenanigans they get wrapped up in the next episode. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.